And welcome to Lunch and Learn. My name is Jo Tuitt, and I'm the Director of Admissions here at the Indiana Academy. By way of introduction, I've been with the Academy for 32 of its 33 years, and my background is in educational leadership with a certification in gifted and talented or high ability education. Today's Lunch and Learn topic is talking about the profile of an Academy student. I have some brief materials to share with you, and then would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. If you're here in the Zoom room, please feel free to drop those questions in the chat box. And if you're watching on one of our social media platforms, you can either drop your question in the comments or you can email it to me at the address you see there on your screen. I will be sure to answer all of the questions once the presentation is complete. So let's go ahead and get started. In order to build that student profile, let's take a quick look at what the Academy is. So the Indiana Academy is one of the premier high schools in the United States, and we were specifically founded and designed to educate high achieving or high ability students, taking into account their unique educational needs. The Academy is a high school where all of our courses are advanced placement, dual credit, or college level. Our faculty are ranked ninth in the United States, and that was out of over 20,000 high schools that were evaluated. The Indiana Academy is a high school where our alumni have attended some of the best colleges and universities in Indiana, across the state, and quite literally around the world. And our alumni are actively involved in providing information and opportunities for our current students and parents. As you know, that's one of the best ways to kind of get that step up in college as well as in the workforce. The Academy is a place where high achieving students can participate in intellectually oriented community. It's where they can truly just be themselves. And then finally, the Academy is a school where students are academically challenged and they're stretched so that they can reach their full potential, in a school that's going to provide them with the support and the resources they need to be able to grow, to face those academic challenges, and to take those academic risks. So, keeping in mind what the Academy is, let's talk about what an Academy student looks like. See if you recognize your student in one of these three broad definitions I'm going to give you about what students tend to thrive here at the Indiana Academy. So first we have our high achievers. High achievers are those students who tend to get all A's. They enjoy high school or elementary and middle school. They enjoy school in general. They complete their assignments on time. They're interested and engaged in their classes. They're attentive. They tend to learn with ease. They may have to study a bit, but they still tend to learn concepts with ease. And they're highly alert and observant. Next, we have our creative thinkers. Creative thinkers may not necessarily be motivated by grades. They are often those students who ask all of those what if questions, and they tend to kind of be overflowing with different ideas. These are often the students that in a classroom situation seem to be those that are off task, or like they're spacing out or daydreaming, or are often described as being in a world of their own. And then finally, we have our high ability or gifted learners, and those are two terms that are used interchangeably. These are students who either perform at or show the potential for performing at an outstanding level of accomplishment, especially when compared with other students of the same age, experience, and environment. Our high ability or gifted learners, kind of like our creative thinkers, may not necessarily be motivated by grades. They tend to pose unforeseen questions. They appear as curious. They can generate complex, abstract ideas that are beyond the group or their age peers. and they prefer the company of their intellectual peers. So those are really quick, short definitions for high achievers, creative thinkers, and high ability or gifted learners. To kind of help solidify these definitions and kind of further our understanding, let me share with you two slides that kind of give you a perspective of how each of these students would react and interact in a classroom situation. So, Dr. Bertie Kingor in Understanding Our Gifted said that this cartoon helps students and teachers both understand kind of that three-way comparison of the high achievers, creative thinkers, and the high ability or gifted learners. So, in this first cartoon here, you see the teacher has just announced an assignment to the class. The high achiever tries to determine what the teacher most wants so that they can satisfy the teacher's intentions. So you see the little thought bubble there. What do they really want? With our high ability or gifted learner, you can see that the student in the middle there is sitting there thinking, what would I like to do? What I would like to do is, because they're thinking about it from that switched position, if you will. And then the creative thinker's mind is just racing with all of the diverse and varied possibilities that they could possibly explore. So again, this is how the three learners would respond to an assignment being given in the class. In the second cartoon, the teacher poses a question to the class. And so this is how our three learners would respond to that. So you see there the first student, the high achiever, they're like super pumped because he knows the answer is in control, and you can see that thought bubble saying, ooh, I know the answer. That middle student there, who is our high ability or gifted learner, she considers all of the different nuances of the question and the alternative perspectives, thinking there that the question could mean this, or it might suggest that, or another way to say that is, or yeah, but. So again, thinking about the nuances of the question and the alternative perspectives. And then you see our creative learner there, or our creative thinker. That student is still obsessed with the endless possibilities of the earlier assignment, and they're concentrating so much on that that they've completely missed the teacher's question here. So again, this is these cartoons represent very different ways of thinking, different ways that students process information and act on that information. As I was going through these two slides, did you see your student in one of these? If so, the Indiana Academy is a great place for your student. Now that we've kind of laid that foundation for the types of students who tend to thrive here at the Indiana Academy, let's talk through a general profile. Right, so Academy students are well-rounded. They're not only academically oriented, but they also are involved in things either involved in things outside of the classroom, but either in the school, such as a school related club or sport, or with something outside of the school system. It could be like a community club or organization or community service even. But they're not only involved in the classroom, but in things outside of the classroom. As kind of a side note, this is important in the application process because it allows the file reviewers to see that your student has at least the foundational time management skills that they're going to need to be successful here at the Academy. Academy students seek an academic challenge or a different way of learning. And this definitely helps them with that jump start in college, wanting to not only earn college credit, but to also learn those valuable life skills that are going to help them when they go off to college and even beyond. Academy students are on track for the Core 40 with honors or academic honors diploma, or they have the ability to switch to that diploma. Um, Academy students are high achievers, creative thinkers, and high ability or gifted learners that we've just gone over. And Academy students are looking for both academic and social growth. Every student is different. And because of that, the application and review process for the Academy takes that into consideration. And applications are evaluated based upon their own merit, and they're not compared to each other. Which is a great segue into talking about the application process. Be sure to watch the virtual application workshop video that is right below the Begin Your Online Application button on our website, which you can see the link for that there on your screen. That video is going to walk you through the application, and it's going to give you truly valuable tips. So again, I highly recommend investing the time into watching that short video. So let me go over just very quickly here our application. There is a student section to the application that will ask your student to respond to a couple of short answer questions. I always recommend to students to work on these uh, offline in either some type of a word processing um, program to make sure they're fully answering that question. It's okay to have you look at it, to have teachers or another respected adult look at it. Again, making sure that that question is fully answered. A few tips I'd like to offer with those is that everything counts for this. So spelling, grammar, punctuation, organization, content, everything counts. So it really is important that students put a little bit of time into this and make sure that they are submitting their best work on those short answer questions. And then we required 3 recommendations, one from a school official, which can be like the guidance counselor, principal, high ability coordinator, registrar, somebody that's in an administrative type role. And then 2 teachers or at large recommendations. The teacher recommendations, we do prefer for them to be from high school, since those are the teachers that will have the most recent contact with your student. But if they're from middle school, that's okay too. Or you can go outside of the school system, and those can come from, mentors, community leaders, anybody really that's not related and has experience in working with your student in some manner. And then we require a parent recommendation. And in that recommendation, we're going to ask you as the parent a couple of questions and then give you space just to kind of tell us about your child. What I always recommend for my parents is in that section where you can spend time telling us about your child is to include stories, because that is the best way to illustrate the growth that your student has made. So if you can, incorporate some stories to help us see that growth piece. And then we required transcripts of all completed high school semesters and a copy of the most recent grades. Now, these don't have to be official. We can take screenshots from any web-based program that your school may be using. And we'll eventually get the official transcripts, but for this point in the process, screenshots or unofficial copies are just fine. I do always like to mention that if your student has a D as a semester grade on their transcript, to contact me. It doesn't mean that your student can't come to the academy. It just means that we need to have a conversation, and we may need to look to see what some alternatives are. And then finally, I want to mention that while we are on a rolling admission, which is basically a fancy way of saying first come, first serve, those students applying for their sophomore year, we will not begin reviewing those applications until January 30th. Whereas those applying for their junior or senior year will begin reviewing those as soon as midterm grades are received, along with their completed application. And you can see there our priority deadline is January 29th. And we will continue accepting applications until all of our spots are filled. I do want to quickly mention that an application is considered complete when the online portion has been submitted and all recommendations and transcripts have been received. So what are we looking for in the application review process, and on what is our admissions decision based? So about 60% of that overall decision is going to be based on academics. So we'll be looking at the classes your student has taken and how they've performed in those. And then 40% then is based on what we like to call non-cognitive indicators, which is just our way of saying that we're going to be looking at your students' drive, determination, persistence, and resiliency. This is why those recommendations, including your parent recommendation, are so important. This is where we'll primarily get that information. As a quick side note, offers of admission. So when you get that email and or the hard copy letter, those offers of admission will often include recommendations on things that you can do or classes that you can take to be even better prepared when you arrive at the start of your term. These are not required items. They're just recommendations. So I would take some time and consider whether or not those will work nicely into your schedule. So we've gone over now what the Academy is. We've talked a little bit about a profile of an Academy student and what students thrive here at the Academy. And we've talked about the application process. Next, I'd like to share with you a few of our upcoming programs, and then I'll get to answering any of those questions that you have. So you can see on your screen there a few of our upcoming programs. We do have one tonight that is for any prospective students, and that's a virtual ambassador chat. So we'll have a few of our current students on the Zoom session, and they'll be answering any questions and sharing information about our program with any students that come on. November 7th, we'll have our virtual What Makes the Academy Exceptional, where we'll be focusing on our athletic program. And our athletic director will be there to share about our program and again to answer your questions. And then I highly recommend attending a Discovery Day. We have our next one set up for November 9th. That's an on-campus program where you get to tour the facilities, hear from different department heads, and talk with students and faculty and parents and more. So it's a fantastic way to really learn in depth about the Academy program. And then we have our virtual application workshop. That's the second in a series. This one will be focusing on references and transcripts. So again, some great tips will be shared there. And then finally, I want to mention our on-campus shadow day that will take place on November 15th. And that's a time where students can come in for a half or full day and immerse themselves in our classes. To sign up for any of those or to see a list of the programs we'll be offering in December and during second semester, you can scan that QR code that's on your screen. So again, if you're in the Zoom room and have any questions, please go ahead and drop those in the chat box. And if you're watching this on one of our social media platforms, you can drop your question in the comments or email it to me at the address on your screen. This concludes the official presentation portion of today's Lunch and Learn. Before answering those questions, I do want to thank you all so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you at one of our future virtual or in-person programs. Thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy your day.